Whether anyone agrees or not, there is no denying that Destiny the game is definitely in decline, showing signs of what some might call to be in demise, or even outright in decay. Destiny seems to be slowly dying. The last couple of expansions seem to expose a number of issues that Bungie can't seem to get their head around and sort out, from how the leveling and progress works to the unsatisfying and pointless grind to the loot itself. Destiny just seems to no longer be improving. Instead, it seems to just be scrambling for survival in a market that is quickly becoming somewhat crowded. I cannot help but feel like the game has plateaued and won't really go anywhere from here in the way that some players might be expecting. Yes, the game will continue to change and in some aspects evolve, but not really in big ways. With every new expansion and season, there will be new challenges, and there will be new loot, and there will be new things to do and grind and chase. But the game's loop and core mechanics will never really change that much again. And sure, you may well think along the lines that it's not supposed to change, as that's what makes Destiny what Destiny is, but if you compare Destiny 1 at launch to the current Destiny now, I mean, there's a very big difference. Would we see the same amount of difference in 6 or 7 years' time from now? I've got to say that based on what Bungie have done over the last couple of years, I really don't think so. And even that comparison between Destiny 1 and Destiny 2, there are still many players that deeply believe that Destiny 1 continues to be the better game and that the end game is more satisfying and enjoyable. One of the bigger problems Bungie and obviously Destiny itself face right now are other games. And yeah, sure, there isn't a Destiny killer out there, but Destiny itself is its own killer in some ways, as the grind becomes so incredibly repetitive for so many veterans and long-standing players. It becomes easy to slowly tap into other games. This of course will inevitably lead to many players never really going back to Destiny, as they find their fix in other adventures, a fix that Destiny can't really seem to offer anymore, at least on the same level it used to. Beyond Light changed Destiny somewhat. Most players went back and grinded out the expansion in hope that Destiny would provide that so-called fix, but little by little, players quickly started leaving once they realized nothing's really changed and they're just going back to play the same game that they've played during the last near enough 7 years. And aside from, running strikes and playing a bit of Gambit or doing the odd raid here and there with some friends or getting into Crucible or Trials at the weekend, there isn't really much else to do. I mean, sure, the new thing now is Grandmaster Nightfalls and Legendary Lost Sectors, as well as whatever new activity is there as part of the season, but it's all just still more of the same over and over and over again. And all it seems to be is some Bungie dude turning some knobs and ramping up the difficulty to make the game seem more of a challenge. And sure, that's going to interest a bunch of players, but not really the majority of casuals that just want to relax and play for a bit with their friends. And Destiny is losing that. The ability to offer enough of a social side to casuals with interesting activities, as well as interesting loot. Now it's just about numbers and achievements and lore books, and the loot is all the same. It's all becoming a game made only for players with massive amounts of time, like YouTubers and streamers. It's exactly why only hardcore players go into Trials, and it's also why those same hardcore players go into Grandmaster Nightfalls. Destiny is now made for the hardcore player only, and it's really a shame. There should be a balance. It's the only way that Destiny can be appealing to new players. Most of my friends that never really played Destiny before find it really hard to get into Destiny, as it's an unsatisfying grind to get to a level where you can easily get through a raid or take on a challenge like soloing the Nightfall or whatever, and it takes an insane amount of work to get there, and it's a really broken experience. It's very out of context for a new player as well, which in turn kind of renders the game totally pointless for being free to play, because that supposedly is to attract new players. With games like Outriders displaying great improvements on how to do loot in such an interesting way, with also an awesome mod system, Destiny really needs to shape up and think about new and improved ways on how to stay relevant as more and more looter shooters are introduced in the market that contain awesome improvements to the genre, and of course take players away from Destiny itself. Outriders is a really great example of that, but more will come. There's a great video made by KUJAY on YouTube that showcases an awesome idea of how the loot system could improve in Destiny. And sure, the coding would be a total nightmare for Bungie, and they'd probably need to make massive changes to the game's code, but still, it's better than having to make a completely new game and calling it Destiny 3. If you haven't watched KUJAY's video, I'll put the link in the description, and I honestly recommend you give it a watch. It's very interesting. Anyway, let me know what you think about Destiny right now in the comments. Thank you all very much for watching. Goodbye.